everybody, welcome to Open Studio. We have here once again the Women's Film Festival, various volunteers of the Women's Film Festival, which is in its 21st year in this community. It's usually a 10 days festival, which this year has about 27 films. Most of the themes all includes something about women and women's empowerment issues. And it usually benefits the Women's Freedom Center. And this year it will begin on March 9th and it will go until March 18th. So we're here to talk with everybody and just learn what's going on this year, what some of the exciting stuff, what some of the highlights are. These guys have been a veteran with the Women's Film Festival for a really long time, so let's start our introductions. And maybe with our introductions we can just tell a little bit about why you keep coming back or why you joined the festival, and just let us know a little bit about that.
Well, I'm Alyssa Weinman, and I'm probably with the festival the least amount of time of anybody around the table. I've been, this is my, really my second year with the festival. But I am so excited to be part of it because women are so underrepresented out there in movies and television and media in general. And the Women's Film Festival really raises women up, and we get to see all kinds of women in every stage of life. And the films are just great. So it's such a great thing for our community, and it's a pleasure to be involved. And the festival is 100% volunteer run, so it's great to be part of that.
Sorry, do you have a specific role that you play?
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. I'm on the steering committee of the festival, and I also handle a lot of the public relations and marketing of the films.
Great.
And I'm Meg Lyons. I've been with the festival, I think, about 5 years now, and I've been mostly on the selection committee, which I love. I think for a lot of the reasons that Lissa just highlighted, I love to be involved with it. I think it's an important event for Brattleboro, but I love independent films. I believe in the work that the Freedom Center does for women. But what I really, really find inspiring and what keeps me coming back year after year is that we start out in the spring and we've got a blank roster, and week after week we just keep vetting films, watching more films until finally here we are. It's 2012, 21st Festival, and once again we've got a great lineup of films. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But just working with a group of dedicated women and putting together a roster that's going to be wonderful for the community. Not just women in the community, but men and young people as well.
Great.
And I'm Marilyn Buhlman, and I've been involved with the festival, since 2000, I think, but I've been one of the major coordinators for the last 8 years. I've been on steering committee, and until last year, I was also chair of the board of the Women's Freedom Center, which benefits from all of the proceeds of the festival. So that's really one of the reasons why I've been involved for so long. The films are an amazing look into the inspiring lives of girls and women. We don't see enough of what women can do, and I really believe if the world's going to go to a better place and become a better place, women are going to do it, and we need to let them know how important they are. So that's why I've been involved for so long.
My name's Mary Elder, and I'm chair of the Film Selection Committee, and I've been on the entire time that the festival has been, so 21 years. And I've had a lifelong passion for film, so that keeps me going. As well as being a woman, it's very important that women are portrayed in films in a more realistic way, and I just want to. I like being part of that. Try to change that ratio, which is terrible right now. As far as maybe only 5% are women directors, or a small amount. It needs to change.
Right. And it obviously, I mean, it's a film festival, but it also has, you also combine special events or different other things to it too. And so maybe can one of you talk about that? Maybe what are the special events this year? What are the key highlights that you'd like to share with us?
Well, one of the great things about the festival are the special events that go along with the films. And last year, on our 20th anniversary, I think we had probably about 15 or 16 special events. This year we have a smaller number, but I'm really excited particularly about one of the films that we'll be highlighting, which is Misrepresentation. It's a documentary that's really catching on like wildfire across the United States right now, because it's really taking a look at why women have failed to make the kinds of achievements in politics and economically over the past 30 years. We're seeing a 17% of women in Congress. That's a 30-year low. What happened in the 80s that kind of put the brakes on feminism. And the film looks at that with the likes of Condoleezza Rice, Jane Fonda, Gina Davis, politicos, entertainment people, and it's really hard-hitting but very entertaining. So it's a must-see, and part of what we're doing with that film is a special event with Girls on the Run head, Molly Barker. Girls on the Run is a girls' empowerment program that's really growing exponentially nationally. It gets girls between 8 and 11, and it's a lot about self-esteem and media, looking critically at media. So we're so pleased to have Molly Barker with us as our keynote speaker with the film on Saturday, March 10th at 4 p.m. at the Latchis Theatre. And that film is also the subject of a special high school showing that we're going to be doing. I think for the first time ever, we're doing a special school day high school's screening of that film, also at the Latchis, so we're excited about that.
I do think we have a clip for that film.
We do.
So let's go to that really quickly, and then if you want to just add a little more after we see the clip, you can do so.
Sure.
So here's a clip.
The media is the message and the messenger, and increasingly a powerful one.
In a world of 1 million channels, people try to do more shocking things to break through the clutter. They resort to violent images, or sexually offensive images, or demeaning images.
When is it gonna be enough? There is no appreciation for women intellectuals. It's all about the body, not about the brain.
You all saw the photo from the weekend of Hillary looking so haggard and looking like 92 years old.
Breast implants. Did you have them or not?
If you waterboarded Nancy Pelosi, she wouldn't admit to plastic surgery.
The fact that media are so derogatory to the most powerful women in the country, then what does it say about media's ability to take any woman in America seriously?
The film just has this amazing array of talking heads, misrepresentation. A couple of the other events that we're doing that we're excited, sometimes we bring directors and producers to Brattleboro to mix with us comic folk, and one of them coming is Chandra Chavanez, who directed Living Downstream, and that is a very important film for our community because the heroine of the film, Dr. Sandra Steingraber, she's considered the modern-day Rachel Carson. She is making the links between what we're exposed to environmentally and the kind of cancers that we see. It's not at all like a down film. It's very upbeat because she's an upbeat person, but the director will be here, and we're excited about that. We also have a wonderful SIT professor, Akhil Tirmisi, presenting on Aung San Suu Kyi documentary that we're doing, the famed human rights leader in Burma. He will be talking about his experiences. He's Pakistani, but he's lived in Southeast Asia and dealt a lot with human rights issues. So he'll be speaking too, and that's just two. People can look at the website and see some of the other special events that we've got going on. There's quite a few speakers. There's also, I just want to mention, because I think we have a clip also of the film The Carrier. We are doing a special event with a local author from Townsend, Vermont, Susanna Granis, who's one of the world's premier experts on AIDS, and particularly AIDS and children, and particularly in Africa. And so that is the subject of this very dramatic, heartfelt documentary that tells the story of one woman and her struggle to protect her child from AIDS in Africa. So Susanna will be there to speak, and I think we do have a clip on that also.
We do. Let's go to that clip right now, please. So those are basically the special events, and like we said, they're attended really well by the community. So again, let's just go through that really quickly. It's Misrepresentation, it's Living Downstream in the Carrier, and Aung San Suu Kyi. Those 4 movies will have a special events. And is there anything you want to add to this?
There may be possibly other events that haven't gelled yet,
okay.
but those are ones that are. Those are all that I can think of at the time.
Yeah, and the special high school screening,
Yeah.
don't forget, that's going to be March 15th, I believe, at the Latchis. So if anybody has high school students that are interested, it's a
and
free
it's not
screening.
just the local high school, it may be other outside of Brattleboro.
It's a group of several high schools from the area coming for that screening. Yeah.
That should be great.
It is great. We're happy to bring the film festival to young people, because those are really the people that need to see it.
Maybe we can go back a little bit and talk about just really quickly how are films selected, and what's the process. And I mean, I know it's long. I know it's from April. I know it's year round. So it might not be able. You guys might not be able to tell me in within a certain period of time. But at least that way, the community will know what goes into making this festival, really what it is.
Yeah,
and,
it is pretty labor intensive, but it's joyous too. It's fun watching films and discovering films. You have to slog through some ones that aren't very good, but we basically we look at festivals from around the world, but some of the top festivals, and we try to seek out films that have won awards, so they've already been vetted a little bit, maybe by other festivals. And then we watch films, but we have our own perspective that we're looking at films through. So we're looking for films that are either about subjects that we haven't really covered yet, but like a balance of themes and subjects, and films that are inspirational and moving and powerful.
Right, and you guys also take, I know, feedback from audience, and I think this year you had some feedback that maybe, I know that in the past there was a lot of maybe documentaries.
We get a lot of feedback on the comment cards that we pass out, and often, because we've had a lot of hard-hitting subjects, and it's, not everyone's cup of tea to watch these, harsh kind of documentaries, but oftentimes there's stories that need to be told, and they don't, it doesn't go away if you just ignore it. You really do have to bring it out. But we did make an effort this year is to have maybe more of a balance of more inspirational, lighter films than we have had in the past. And this year we have a higher percentage of narrative films and less documentaries, although we still have quite a lot of documentaries, because that's what women make more than. And so we do have more. We have 7 narrative films this year, where usually we have maybe 3 or 4.
And for those who don't know what narrative is, just fiction films. It's more full feature
story,
story, full feature
made-up stories,
And I think throughout the process, if you start in April, there are films that you love in May, and by the time we get to October, November, all of a sudden we've got too many films, and then the hard job is whittling it down, but also at the same time getting down to a reasonable number. But then looking at the lineup and saying, where's the balance? Is each continent represented? Is there a film from all parts of the world? Is the documentary, feature-length film balance? Are the typical themes present? Do we have too many films from South America and nothing from Europe? Just trying to present a menu of films so that there will be something or many things for every person to choose from.
Right.
And that's where the fun is. We work on a totally democratic system, and we really do tally up votes, and at the end we fight for certain films, all in good. It's all in good fun. But this year's lineup, we always get despondent around June, thinking we don't have enough films, and then we end up with too many, and then we have
Right.
a bounty of riches. And once again, I think that's what we've got this year. It's a good lineup. And a lot of very inspirational films with great endings, happy endings, not all gloomy.
I know that when I was sitting down with you guys, like for a preliminary meeting here, you guys were talking about Carol Channing. And I think everybody said you guys cried, you guys laughed. So maybe we can begin with that. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see that. I mean, that's really exciting for me. I haven't seen that, and I really want to. So can maybe somebody talk about Carol Channing?
Sure, I'll start off about Carol. I love this film, and I have to say, when I first heard, a film on Carol Channing, I was like, I don't know. I had my doubts because, I grew up in the '60s, and I knew she was the Hello Dolly person, and I thought, okay, what is this going to be about? Is this really going to be substantial enough? Well, I was wrong. The film, it's Carol Channing, larger than life, and she really is larger than life. She just celebrated her 91st birthday last week, and this woman has more energy, more vitality, and love for life. She is inspirational. The film is really a love letter to her. It's a documentary. And it's a trip down memory lane. There's some archival footage, but the parts of the film that I found really wonderful, well, there were two. One is these interviews with the singers who were in Hello Dolly on Broadway, who come back to talk about what it was like to work with Carol Channing. This is a woman who won 3 Tonys, never missed a day on Broadway for years, and always performed. I mean, she's just such a professional.
She even threw up on stage, I think. She got sick on stage. She still didn't go home or whatever.
I mean, she has such drive. There were parts of her life that are uncovered in the film that make it really interesting. The other thing that I loved about the film was this love story. She reunites late in life with her sweetheart from junior high school. And the two of them have this romance, and they marry, and they adore each other. So that's a really fun part. They go back and they visit their hometown after 70 years, which is very cute. So the film is... we do have a clip here.
We have a clip for that one.
The safest place in the world to be is center stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first lady of musical comedy, Carol Channing.
And of course she had that voice. I know where you got that voice, Channing.
The minute I start to do any Carol Channing, oh, thank you so much, they immediately go crazy. You sound like my father.
If you're going to be in show business, you got to be into it like Carol Channing is into it.
Yes, on the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend.
She took the entire audience in her embrace when she came out on stage.
There are people who would have been a star no matter what they did. The camera loves Carol Channing.
And it doesn't matter what the name of the character in the play is, it's always Carol. And that's what makes a star. Nobody ever says, get me a Carol Channing type. There aren't any.
It's funny about creating a part.
Hello, darling. Hello, Carol.
It's yours into eternity. And here I am almost 90, and I'm still doing shows. I don't know why you applaud that, it just happens.
We're all looking forward to definitely watching Carol Channing.
Well, that's going to be our opening film.
That's the kickoff film.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yes.
It's just very, very fun.
It's a good way to start it,
An interesting tidbit that you all might be interested in here is that Carol Channing has a connection to Vermont. She is a graduate of Bennington College, which I didn't know about.
Yeah.
So.
And also, one of our venues is NEYT, and Jerry Stockman told me that he used to work with Carol Channing.
How fun is
so
that?
That was the local person that knows something of her.
Okay, we definitely have some other films as well. Let's just kind of go down that list a little bit. Tomboy, can someone talk about Tomboy a little bit?
Yeah, well, I love Tomboy. It's one of my favorite films in the festival. It's a drama, and it's about a little girl who moves to a new neighborhood and pretends to the local kids and neighbors that she's a boy. and her family doesn't know about this till later on in the film, but it's such a touching portrayal of youth and just labels and how we relate to each other in a human way, and the gender really doesn't matter in a family, so it doesn't really matter. And that comes across in the film, that there's things that transcend, you know, whether you call yourself a girl or a boy. And the film is just charming. It's subtitled, but they're really easy to read, and I didn't find it distracting at all, as I often do with subtitles. Very easy to follow, and it was great. I loved the film very much. I don't know if we have a clip of that one.
It's a French film. We don't have a clip from it, but yeah, it's a very sensitive film. The girl who plays the lead is just wonderful. She's great. The acting is wonderful.
And the depiction of family life is so warm, and it's
very
so
realistic.
The film is making its way through the festival circuit now and getting quite a bit of attention. And it's, again, not the kind of film that we would ever see here and share with an audience, you know. So it's great, and it will bring up a lot in terms of the post-film discussion. We usually try to somehow engender a discussion, Q&A, after the film, and the audience gets a chance to share, and that's one of the great things about the festival, and this one's certainly going to provoke some discussion, I think.
Okay. And then we also have Prinsessa.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a film from Finland.
Okay.
So it's also a subtitled film. And it's a period piece. It's based on a true story of a woman named Anna. Excuse my, I don't know if I can pronounce Finnish names very well, but it's like Anna Lappilainen or something like that. And she actually was admitted to a mental institution a little bit later in life, like in her 30s, after she had had like a marriage that went bad, and she became kind of destitute, and then her behavior became more erratic, I guess. And so she was admitted. And, you know, it's during these times like the 30s and 40s and 50s where the mental institutions were really clumsily experimenting with all these new kind of techniques. And here's this woman who is very artistic and has a natural ability to perform, you know, and entertain people. And so there's that juxtaposition between the staff and what the hospital's trying to do, and then just her and how she is. She's very happy and joyous, and she ends up just through the strength of her personality actually has a healing effect, not only on the patients but on the staff and the villagers. It has a uplifting quality, so it's a really interesting film.
Okay, and we do have a clip for that film.
Do
you want to talk about the clip, or should we just watch it?
Yeah, just watch it. Yeah.
Ihmettelen vain, miten puhuttelette ylempiänne. Minä olen prinsessa. Äitini on Skotlannin kuningas ja isäni keisari Wilhelm II.
Mikä kuningas sinun äitisi on?
Prinsessa hoitaa asiaa, köyhien asiaa.
Ottakaa pieni hetki. Tässähän se prinsessan sekkivihko onkin.
Miksei hänen annettaisi olla prinsessa? Kylältä tulee viestejä siitä, kuinka hän piristää ihmisiä. Sitä paitsi hän on onnellisempi kuin yksikään koko henkilökunnasta.
Hän on Napoleon, mitä ihmettä hän tekee minun maillani. Venäjällä hävisit ja häviätte täälläkin.
With this film, you just found her personality and how that kind of carried through as compelling to why you picked it in this selection.
I mean, myself, I worked for many years in a mental institution, and you know, I'm sure it's not during this time period in history. I'm sure it wasn't very much unlike, very similar to what you see in this film in some respects. And so I was fascinated with the historical aspect, but I think it's the film, you can approach it from so many different ways and really enjoy the film. I think it's a fascinating film. And by the way, she, you know, being a real person, they erected a monument to her in Finland.
In Finland?
Yes.
That's kind of nice. Is there anything else that you guys want to add about that film? Or we can go to As If I'm Not There?
Yeah. Okay, well, this is one of those films that is a very dark subject. It's a narrative film, though. It's because I don't think you could ever have a documentary that shows what this film shows. But it's actually made in Ireland. It's Ireland's entry into the Academy Awards.
Okay.
It didn't get nominated, but it's their entry. But it's about Bosnia, and it's about the Bosnian sex camps. And it's this young teacher from Sarajevo who goes into the countryside to teach. And during that time, she's kind of swept up in the war. The village is raided, and she's taken to one of these sex camps. So it's a very hard film to watch. However, the film is really beautifully made, and it is a very important story that needs to be told.
I think you guys do really well with bringing the subject up in different areas of the world, and you know, and even though it's a little bit of strong subject, but I know that there was rape in the Congo, which was it was a documentary, but it was an extremely moving. It really brought a level of awareness, I think, to all audiences. And so, is that kind of what you're hoping with this film too?
And this is it's definitely an unforgettable film.
Is it more compelling because it's fiction, or because you can bring other elements?
Well, on this particular subject, like I said, you probably would be impossible to make a documentary that brings out the reality of the situation like this film does.
Okay.
Because you'd never be able to get inside that world.
Right.
But this film does it through narrative. It's able to get inside and develop the characters within it that can really give you that impact. And I highly recommend it. But it's not a film that maybe everybody would want to see. Right. They have to determine for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing, again, that I love about the festival, because we look at topics that you hear about in the news, but then, you know, they're brought to life for you in a way that would really never be possible.
Right.
I mean, obviously, that's what film does, and that's what a good drama does. It brings it home, you know, and certainly that's the case with this film. I think it's probably one of the most important films for people to see in the lineup.
I know that sometimes you guys put a disclaimer, like saying, you know, like this film has a little bit of strong content. Are you guys?
Yeah,
are you doing
this
that
is going.
year?
Well, this film will have that disclaimer.
Sometimes I know
something
that
like has disturbing scenes and violence.
Okay.
And the film The Neighbor is another very interesting film. It's shot in Vancouver, Canada, but it's about two Iranian neighbors, two women who live alone. One has a small child, and it depicts a relationship between these two strangers that share a common place that they came from, and that's about it. But they discover all of these other things, and one of the younger women has a little daughter. So it becomes this musing on mothers and daughters and grandmothers and place, and it's a dreamlike. It's really a wonderfully evocative film. It's
very lyrical,
slowly it unfolds, and it's sort of like one of those films where the next day you're thinking, oh, that's what that was. Now I get the connection, and it kind of stays with
subtle.
you. It's very subtle, and again, you know, in our mainstream offerings, you know, the mainstream movies that you're able to see at the theater, you really, you're not given a chance to get into that world.
Right.
It's like, bam, you know, you're hit between the eyes, and then this explosion here, and a car chase here, and a skirt going up there, and you don't really get this sense of being present in another world the way many of our films do. And I think, again, that's like this great thing that we bring to the community every year through that. It's a real exploration.
Yeah, and I think another thing about the films is we really do try to show almost all of the films at least twice. And I know each year there's at least one film that I will see as many times as it shows. Because I go away after the first screening with
What was it?
I don't quite understand everything that happened, or, boy. So it's really great, and except for our opening film and our closing film, I believe those are the only two that are only showing once. Is that correct?
Carol Channing's showing twice.
Okay, it's the closing film. It's the only one that's showing only once.
No, we have a couple others that are only showing once, I think.
Okay. But it's
majority,
we try for at least twice.
Yeah, since we're noting that,
we try
Marilyn.
for at least twice.
And especially, like, I think that creates buzz, and like sometimes, you know, certain groups of people in the community have seen it, and then they're kind of telling other people, and so a variety of movies that's really out there is really great. I know that something that you guys, that the Women's Film Festival started like about, I don't know, 3-4 years ago is also unsolicited submissions. Can somebody kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with the submissions, and these are films that we put up on the website, and we send out information saying if you have a film that's about women, and especially if it's about women or girls by a woman, we want to see it. And so this year I believe we had 58 submissions, and we selected 2 of those films. And again, it's hard. Some of the films are very amateurish, and some of the films we wonder why anybody would submit this film to a women's film festival. But by and large, I would say of about 40 films, we really looked at them very closely. And the process there is we receive the films, and at least 2 people watch those films, and then they're brought to the film selection committee. And part of the decision about the submitted films is how do they also fit into the overall theme of the festival, which is movies about women and girls and their lives.
Now let's just clarify something for those who are maybe interested in submitting. Do they have to be by a women director?
They don't have to be by a woman, but
they just have to,
must
the
be,
content has to.
But I have to say that films by women, about women, go a little bit higher on the notch, because we want to encourage women filmmakers in any way we can by showing their films. And this year we have 2 films, and they're about fertility issues and the dilemmas that face our culture now, that we have different technologies to lengthen fertility and with surrogates to have other people bear our children for us. So it used to be just either you had them or you adopted, but now there are other options. And the first film is called Eggs for Later, and it's a film from Holland. And Marika Schellert is the filmmaker and the star and the producer. And she is a 35-year-old Dutch woman who is starting to ask herself the question, I'm not in a relationship right now. I don't know when that will happen again, and I'm coming to the end of my most fertile years. Is there any way I can extend my fertility? So she does research online and going to conferences and talking to physicians about what her alternatives are. Now, we've been able to have semen banks for I don't know how many years, 30 years, maybe longer, but saving eggs, saving women's eggs is relatively new and is not practiced very widely unless a person has a cancer at a very young age. Then there are some alternatives. And Marika goes on a voyage of finding out what her options are. And she thinks she knows what they are, and then she's presented with something she had never even thought was possible. So you'll have to watch that movie to find out. Excellent movie.
It's a wonderful movie.
It's a wonderful movie, and
it's not just about her; it's about her family.
Her family.
Too. She has really supportive family, and she seeks their guidance through the whole process. And it's just very touching. It's a very loving family, and she is such a wonderful personality. You really warm to her instantly. You really want to go on this journey with her. So it's a good film.
Yeah, and just for me in documentaries in particular, the honesty that people allow, these women allow us into their lives, into the most inspiring as well as the most painful moments in their lives, the questions that they're really living with. We're right there with them, and that honesty is just, to me, is just amazing. And this is definitely one of those films. Another one of the submissions is called Angel for Hire. Angel is a surrogate mom. Angel is carrying another couple's child. And the movie really focuses on whose body is it that's carrying this baby. A complication arises in the pregnancy, and they, the future parents, the contracted parents, and the medical community are saying to Angel, who's the surrogate mom, you have to have a cesarean section. And she, well, does she have anything to say about it? You'll have to watch that movie to find out.
That film also has kind of a historical it's a short film, but it has a really good historical overview of surrogacy and how it started and some of the issues that have been connected with that.
And just one thing about the submission process, I think we should all recognize that each year there's more and more submissions, and that's really a testimony to the fact that the festival is rising in stature internationally, because we get submissions from all over the world. So each year we do the festival, each year we do a great festival, the next year we get more films, and that's what's so exciting too about it.
Yeah, and the number of really, really well-made films is what increases tremendously each year. I remember the first year, our submissions, it was like, okay, what do we say to these people? How do you give them some positive feedback? But no, this is not for our festival.
It's a revenue stream for the festival too, the submissions, right? Because people pay to submit, so it's nice to have that little incentive.
And I know that there's always films in the festival. You know that there's, I don't want to say themes, but maybe they are kind of themes like gender or, you know, art films. I know that this community loves, you know, movies about women and artists, partly because this is a very community that's really invested in art. But let's talk about just one or two gender films that touch on gender issues really quickly. I know that we kind of did with Tomboy, but you said it had a larger, more encompassing, compelling story to it. But two films that maybe, you know, touch on gender a little bit, and then two films that touch on art and women a little bit.
Sure. I'll talk about the first gender film, which is Wish Me Away. One of my favorites of this festival. I would see this any number of times. This is a very intensely personal documentary about the country music singer Shelley Wright. And she's won multiple music awards. Two of her hits were Single White Female and Shut Up and Drive, so some of you may know her from that. And the film chronicles this journey, and it's really a heart-wrenching journey that she goes on. It shows the time between her decision to come out of the closet as a lesbian and the actual announcement 2 years later on television. And it takes us through this journey where she knows the risks involved. She's probably going to lose her fans. She will probably not be accepted in the country music world any longer. She knows there's a huge downside to her career for this. But she also feels she cannot live this lie anymore. She just has to be honest with herself and with the world. But it's not an easy decision, and so we go through this 24-month up and down roller coaster with her, and it's just quite something. We have a clip, so why don't we take a look?
I don't know if I have the courage to actually have anyone ever see this tape.
I know that every morning you go thumbing through the personal wallets.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shelley Wright.
Had you told me 21 years ago I was going to film the Oprah Winfrey Show to be talking about my career and a lifetime of hiding being gay, I would have told you to shut up. I dated some amazing men. I dated Brad Paisley and I didn't call him back. I just completely cut him off. And that's the worst thing you can do to a person.
So you accept the fact that this could be a career-ending decision?
Oh, absolutely.
So I hear you came out this morning.
On the Today Show.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm out.
You're out, honey. You're out. You're out all day. You're out forever.
I think we will be really excited to see that film. There's also I Am a Girl,
I'm a Girl. It's another gender identity film. Wish Me Away won Best Documentary at the LA Film Festival last year, and I Am a Girl actually won the jury award for short documentary. This is a 15-minute film, and it was made in the Netherlands. Excuse me, the Netherlands. About a 13-year-old who was born a boy, but knows for sure that she's a girl. And it is a very tender, honest, beautifully filmed program, and very thought-provoking. And this is a film that's going to be shown along with Tomboy.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and that film is really an interesting example. You know, being the Netherlands, of how they handle this topic, and how that compares to how we handle that. It's really kind of serves as a role model in a way for us, I think, this film, of how open and honest and accepting that they are.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mary. Really good.
Yeah, and the art films, a couple that we have this year with an art focus, Women Art Revolution really recounts the feminist movement in art in the 70s and 80s, and it really will be of great interest to any artists. Really talks about how segregated the art world is, or was. Hopefully it's a bit better now. But from protests at the Whitney to the Guggenheim, we follow women artists really protesting the fact that they are not allowed into the Old Boys Network. And so it's a very compelling and very important film. And another one that really touched my heart, art isn't exactly the subject of the movie, but it's called Raising Renee. The artist in the movie is given custody of her sister after their mother dies, and her sister is developmentally disabled. She makes pot holders, but it's really, it's also a chronicle of an artist and an artist's life, and she takes this, I think at the time her sister is 45 years old, and takes her into her life, and you know, she's an artist, and how does she have life, how does she have time in her life for the sister who has such tremendous needs? And there's, she's again so honest and so open. It really amazes me that a person would let photographers into their lives on a day-to-day basis.
She has a great sense of humor, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, very strikingly honest.
Yeah, she goes, I should scream, and then she laughs. You know, it's like, it's really, really wonderful. And her art is really remarkable. So those are two art films that should draw a lot of attention.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will. I'm sure.
Raising Renee is one of the better films, in my opinion, in the festival. It's a great film,
Great. We just really want to quickly, one more, you know, just last, your favorites, and then we'll kind of tell the audience really quickly about just where to get tickets, repeat the dates again. So what favorites? Let's just one or two more.
We've got to talk about Raw Faith.
Yeah, okay.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Raw Faith. We have a clip, so I will just tell you that this film is important. It was reviewed in the New York Times, and what they said about it is, this is a film that talks about spirituality without being dogmatic, and it talks about older adults exploring romance. And you don't get either of those topics together in a film, no less. Do you see it very often? So why don't we just take a look quickly at the clip.
The question that we should pose is this: am I a healing presence or a hurting presence?
Dear Journal, this year I've not felt good in body or in spirit most days. My sense of myself as a sexual being seems to be almost gone. And then there's a depression.
You know, I just adored my father. But he got married 5 times. You know, he was violent. He was an alcoholic. So love has always seemed dangerous to me. It's strange to me how I've been so intimately involved with
so many people over the years, but I haven't had intimacy in my own life. I haven't had love in my own life. Dear Journal, I've been going through one of the most difficult transitions of my life. I have decided to leave the church, and I'm struggling with imagining what kind of life I could ever have.
Can someone really quickly talk about Jane's Journey?
Jane's Journey is our final film. It's just playing the once, so everyone needs to see it on that day. And it's just, again, it's another love letter to Jane Goodall, who worked with the chimpanzees, and now tours around the world advocating for, you know, protection of the environment. And it is beautifully photographed and is just a wonderful film in all. I mean, it's it leaves you with that feeling of inspiration at the end.
Right. Okay, I just want to make sure that you know, people do get the dates. It starts on March 9th. It finishes on March 18th. But there's always a best of the fest, or best in the fest, and that day will be Sunday, the 25th. Is best of the fest when you guys also have like a closing ceremony?
Yeah, we have a little reception.
Yeah. Reception. That's Sunday, March 25th at 6:30.
6:30.
6:30. Okay.
But we have our preview reception, and the opening reception for the film festival is Friday, March 2nd during Gallery Walk.
Okay.
And we're having a big reception in the Hooker Dunham building on the ground floor through the glass doors, and we'll be showing a loop of all the previews of our films. So for those watching, that's where you can get a good sort of idea of which films you want to make sure you see.
Yeah. And we just want to say there's two venues. It's going to be
the Latchis
and the NYT. And we should mention that this does benefit the Women's Freedom Center. And then this, if you need tickets, if you need any more information, phone numbers, anything else, how to become a volunteer with the Women's Film Festival, we have a website.
womensfilmfestival.org. And we will be putting up the full slate of programs very soon, if it's not up already.
Yeah, they're up today.
Great. So all of the information on the films, we will be selling the not tickets, we sell passes ahead of time, 5 film passes for 30 for seniors and 35 for others. And we'll be selling those at Brattleboro Books and at Everyone's Books. And those will be available in about a week. But go to the website for any other information, any special events as they come up. And the Commons newspaper, we're doing a partnership with them, and they're actually printing our film program, which will be coming out in 2 weeks?
Right, the very beginning of March, the week before the festival, the Commons will have a supplement devoted to the film festival, which we're really excited about, and that will include our program.
Okay.
So everybody will have a chance to grab that in the
So there's just a full
Commons.
set of information that's coming your way. We want to thank you so much for, once again, organizing this, or being part of the organizing committee for this festival, and I think we're all going to be looking forward to all the films and special events and all the messages and themes and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you there.